What's good, Denver? It's Shelly Martinez, your host of Chopping It Up with Shelly at Hollywood Barbershop.
This is the Barbershop. Barbershop. This is the Barbershop. The place where a black man means so.
What's good, Denver? It's Chopping Up with Shelly over here at Hollywood's Barbershop. I have Richard Deberry here with Vibe Realty Brokerage. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic.
Good. So how long have you been in Denver?
6 years now.
Okay. And you had mentioned you're from Tulsa?
Yep. Born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street.
Nice. Okay. So tell me about Vibe Realty Brokerage.
So we've been in business here in Denver since 2016. We got started originally, moved into our first fix and flip. So we kind of moved into our first project and took that on and you know, did all the renovations. And then after that, you know, we had already had our agent license before we moved. I say us, meaning me and my wife. We're a partner in business. But we had our agent license even like 6 months before we even moved from Tulsa to Denver. So we already knew what we were coming to do, but it just kind of took shape in a different fashion than what we expected. And once we flipped our first house, you know, the rest was history.
You know, everybody's that I've ever talked to has always thought of or dreamed of flipping houses. You know, it's a great market to get into and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But it just seems like how do you get started?
You know, there's different approaches to like getting started in fix and flipping. You know, right now it's kind of a tall task just because of the price of acquisition, meaning like how much it costs to like kind of get in the game right now, with the market being like crazy high, highest it's been in history. So generally, you know, if you have either some kind of skill set to help you with real estate, you could do what's called OPM, which is like use other people's money. So like you could, you know, if you can find a deal, then you can actually go and use other people's money to invest and purchase a property. You know, use their money for the renovations, and you know, once you actually sell that property, you can give them, you know, obviously their percentage back on top of whatever else they're asking, and you know, you take yours.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a number of ways to get into it, but you know, if I was a beginner, that would definitely be my starting point.
So you don't have to. Do you need to have like any like what kind of background do you need to have? Like what is necessary or would help you achieve what you're doing?
You know, if you have some sort of construction background, as far as, you know, actually how to build a property, of course, that would be an amazing start, right? But honestly, in today's day and age, like, there's so much information out there, and there's like, I mean, YouTube University for most people, but you can literally get started, you know, just doing the basics as far as learning how to like install cabinets and different things like that, different trades. Or you could do it the easy route, which we took, was building a team, right? So even if you don't have any kind of background knowledge on how to flip a house, you can actually just go and find contractors or subcontractors or a general contractor, and they'll have, you know, the knowledge, expertise, team, the time, the everything you need. And you just obviously factor that into the cost of the renovations.
Now, what about the bidding? So as far as bidding goes, do you rely on the contractor for that, or do you kind of have to have a little bit of knowledge?
As far as the bidding goes, that's more so of a hustle game, right? As far as once you get one bid in, your next step should be to call like 2 or 3 more people in that exact same trade and see what their bids are for that exact same amount of work, right? Because that's the only way you'll ever know, you know, if somebody's trying to screw you or if somebody's trying to like overcharge you on some of the work. You know, you get that first bid in and it's like, okay, you know, it costs X to do X. Well, now you want to go and get some second, third, fourth, and fifth opinions if you have to. So that's
so it is good to have like a team. So you might have like somebody who's kind of more knowledgeable about flooring and somebody else who's more knowledgeable about cabinets, and then you kind of just work together.
Absolutely. Some people are like a jack of all trades, and then, you know, other people who are like myself, who I didn't want to do any of the work because I I'm risking other people's money at a very high cost if things go wrong. So I don't want to be in the one in there, you know, building stuff and demoing stuff and knocking out the wrong thing or whatever, you know, could happen. I'll leave that to the professionals. You know what I mean? I'd look like a fool if I went in there and tried to do some of that stuff. They'd be like, "Oh no, this not gonna work."
So your budget usually evens out. Or, I mean, you do well.
Oh yeah,
For the most part.
Yeah. You know, in real estate, it's all about numbers. You have a budget and you absolutely want to stick to it. Unfortunately, in real estate, you know, unforeseen things do happen, like all the time, almost on every project. So that's something you actually have to pencil in when you're like drawing up a pro forma in a spreadsheet. You know, that's actually a penciled in cost of, you know, like an overage, like, because, you know, unfortunately, anything can go wrong when you're renovating, you know, 1960s, 1970s
Sure.
type
I
homes.
don't know what you get into.
Oh man, I could go down a crazy list, but yeah, it gets pretty ugly.
What is the market between where you're from and where Denver's at right now?
Night and day.
All day.
Night and day. So Tulsa, Oklahoma is a much smaller city. They are growing, but you know, Denver's seen double-digit appreciation for the last, I don't know how many years, like 10, 12 plus. You know, and what you see in Denver market is actually something that you don't necessarily even see in, I would say, 95% of the other markets in the country. Just so many people want to live here, and every year everybody's house is appreciating so much. Whereas in Tulsa, you know, goes back to that pros and cons things of what I said earlier about like living different places. Like people like Tulsa, but everybody's not moving to Tulsa like they are to Denver, right? So that appreciation is not going up as much as it is in Tulsa as it is here in Denver.
Do you feel it's a wiser investment to flip or to just purchase?
You know what? Honestly, that really just depends on your long-term strategy, right? I feel like flipping is something that you can obviously get quick cash from. You know what I mean? Something where, you know, flip process should take you, depending on where you are and the crew you have, potentially, you know, 3-4 months. We've been doing a lot of ours in 2 to 3 months, but yeah, when you do that, you also, on the flip side, if you want to do the long-term holds where you're just acquiring properties for like the rental income, then, you know, that's something where you build a rental portfolio, and that's where a lot of people start seeing long-term wealth, right? Because at some point or another, it begins to tip to where you now have X amount of rental income, and your, you know, monthly expenses of living is this, and now you're here with your rental income, so now you're kind of living for free, right? So it just depends on, like I said, your long-term strategy. For us, we obviously do a ton of fix and flips and home remodels, but we're also vetting some like value add apartment deals, to where, you know, literally we can go into an apartment complex and do the exact same thing we just done to a single family house to an apartment complex with, you know, 50, 60, 70 units. And that right there is something where you get residual income for as long as you want it, depending on your exit strategy. But yeah, no, I think there's benefits to both, but it just depends on your long-term strategy.
I kind of feel like flipping right now would be more beneficial, in my opinion, only because, I mean, a majority of the houses that you purchase right now for the single family home are like skyrocketing, right? So like, you know, you're at $500,000 almost, you know?
Oh, yeah.
As now you could go find a fixer-upper and flip that for maybe $200,000.
For sure.
Would you agree? Or what range are you looking at? Or does it depend on what your final project outcome is what you want that to be?
No, you're spot on with that statement, because right now, like I said, is the highest time of the housing market in history, right? So people who are flipping are getting in at what we feel like is the riskiest time in history to be flipping houses, because, you know, here in Denver, you could purchase a flip, you know, a unrenovated, you know, nationally rundown property, 450 if you're lucky. Like on a good day, a nice, I'm talking 3 bedroom, 2 bath,
And you're saying 450.
450,000, yeah, to acquire that property to potentially flip it and hope that you do a good job, and then also hope that somebody wants that house on the back end, you know, because you still got to sell it even after you flip it and renovate it. So, yeah, no, it's the riskiest time ever to be a flipper, but like you said, also you have the other option to do the rentals. So if you have, you know, some bank relationships or maybe good credit or whatever your scenario is, and you can get into rentals, that's, you know, another option as well.
So let's talk about credit. Does credit, that's obviously you have to have pretty good credit to get started, or do you not so much because you have investors?
You know what? I have a unique experience and situation, whereas we haven't had to use our credit. We've only had investors, and literally we've only had one investor, and we're a completely vertically integrated company, right? So all of our investor funds come from the top, and then we work all of those through the fix and flips. We send those through our brokerage, so we sell them, so we don't actually have to pay, you know, an agent a fee to actually sell these properties.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, as far as credit goes, to be competitive in this market, we've only purchased homes cash. That's the only way for us as investors to not only be aggressive, but to actually win that property, right? Because it's us against other investors on top of other potential homeowners. So it's like that's why a lot of these houses are getting built up the way they are right now, because it's not just, you know, investors who want to make some money. It's people who really want to live here and are tired of losing, you know, bids to investors or other potential homeowners. So yes, it's a wild market right now.
I would think so because I mean it's got to be like such a competitive, you know, situation, you know, like here you've invested all this money for a flip, and then you're competing with all these other, you know, elements and stuff like that. Now, is it hard for you to find an investor getting started, or are they out there? How do you go about that?
There is so much money out there that people are wanting to, I say people, investors are wanting to deploy into safe asset classes like real estate, right? So the simplicity, I thank God that we live in the world and time and age that we do today, because literally the simplicity of it is crazy. You can literally go on Facebook right now and go to your local town real estate group and find investors in seconds right through your real estate groups, just right on Facebook. It's, you know, it's a huge resource for a lot of people. You know, I've joined several like apartment investing masterminds where, you know, not only can I find investors who want to invest, I can find people who find apartments, I can find people who have bank relationships who can, you know, give me loans on the buildings, whatever. So like literally whatever you need, is really just a matter of you going out and finding the resources at this point.
Because they're definitely there.
Definitely there.
Wow. What kind of advice can you give to someone, you know, that doesn't see outside of their environment, somebody who doesn't know how to get started and is just kind of like in a stagnant situation, but wants to change their life?
I would definitely say make like a definitive decision on like what they want to do first, right? Because I feel like a lot of people are blessed with a lot of talents, and sometimes you feel like, you know, you're in a certain position in life where you could do this, or you could do this, or you could do this, and it's just a lot of cloudiness, right? I feel like once you make a definitive decision on like what it's going to be and like what you actually want to get accomplished or make a career out of, then you can start putting like the necessary pieces to building that, you know, foundation of that after you figure that part out. That's like step one.
Did you feel apprehensive in the beginning? Like, man, I don't know if I can do this. You know, we all have that self-doubt, that self-talk, negative stuff, you know?
Absolutely. You know, I went through a lot of emotions in the beginning, just like anybody will when they're, you know, switching from careers. So like prior to real estate, I was in fitness. So I was a private trainer to professional athletes all over the country. And when I was back home in Tulsa, I had reached essentially, what felt like the height of being a personal trainer. Because at that point, it was like, okay, do I go open up a gym and do my own thing and do that, or do I do something else? Because I feel like once again I'm capable of doing all these other things, and I'm having that I need to make a definitive decision moment. And so for me with that career shift, it was definitely a learning curve, right? Anything that you do in life is going to be a learning curve. So I feel like if you're going to take the time to invest in learning in that learning curve, it better be for damn sure something that you want to do, right? So it was like, do I want to keep working an hourly wage situation where I'm in personal training, or do I want to go in real estate where I can essentially leave a legacy and some assets to my kids at a certain point just from having this type of career? So it was like, yeah, this is for sure what I want to do.
What kind of services do you provide your clients or anyone who was to reach out to your real estate firm?
So we're not the traditional real estate brokerage. We don't have any agents, and we don't actually take on clients as far as people who want to buy or sell a home, right? We essentially only do our own investments right now, to where, like I said, we remodel these homes, we purchase them, and we sell them through our own brokerage. But eventually, maybe sometime down the line, next year or sometime in the future, we may end up bringing on some agents to where we'll offer services like a typical real estate brokerage, where buy and sell homes. But right now, that's not our mojo. We're too in our bag right now for that.
I think that just speaking to you, I think that you would be great at mentoring people while you're doing that.
Oh yeah.
For yourself, but mentoring and helping people realize what their potential is in that market.
Yeah. My thing is with kids. So I've already had an extensive past with youth mentorship. That was like a big part of who I am and what I was doing growing up. Even as far as in the fitness arena, when I was doing that before real estate, I was in this program called Boast, where it was essentially just a youth fitness kind of situation, where I teach them sports and do all those other things. But a big part of that, the other half of it, was mentoring kids, right? Kind of letting them know your situation is not what it has to be. There's more to life than what you're seeing right now. Et cetera, et cetera. Just mentoring and just letting kids know. You know what I mean? That they all have so much potential. You know what I mean? To do really anything. So yeah, I love mentoring. That's been a big part of my jam.
That's amazing. So, what does the barbershop mean to you?
The barbershop means to me, this is a super easy one. It means community. I feel like this is one of the places where you have some of the most intimate conversations with somebody who you trust with your appearance, right? And you build this relationship with somebody over the course of time, where there's some authenticity that's shared between these two people. So where else can you go and share all these different emotions, other than this community, the barbershop. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you got a barbershop, you got a friend. Does that mean you got a barber, beautician, or whatever that profession is in that barbershop that they finna get you right? You finna be looking good. And it reminds me a lot of being a therapist too, right? Because in personal training, a lot of times you be talking to a client for an 8-hour session for 45 minutes, and I ain't done no workouts.
Right.
Same thing in a haircut. You can talk to this person for however long that appointment is, and realize that you done told them every problem in your life. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Every person that work in the shop know that they got 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 clients that come in there, and boy, when I say y'all have some conversations, y'all have some conversations. So community
Yeah, that's good. And shout out to your barber, who is
Man, listen, when I tell you James,
James Muhammad here in Hollywood.
man, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he get me right.
He is meticulous in what he does. He's very, very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't. I mean, at his age, I have not seen anyone with the skill level that he has.
Listen, I'm picky when it comes to my haircuts. I got here in 2016. I didn't find James until last year. And when I tell you, brother's been a blessing to this head. I couldn't appreciate him more.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
for
good
sure.
to know. Well, we appreciate you coming to Hollywood for all of your hair
Absolutely.
needs, of course.
Absolutely.
You fan, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been coming here. I've been enjoying the vibe, just
Good.
enjoying the aesthetic, and the feel in here when you come to the shop. You know, it's definitely an energy when you go to certain places. And I done went to a few shops out here where A, didn't feel welcome, B, didn't feel safe. And then when you go to the shop, them my two top priorities.
Yeah.
You know, damn, my hair getting cut. You know, am I gonna make it home?
Right.
For real. So
good.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Good. So, if anybody wanted to reach out to you and then just get some advice as to how to get started and stuff like that, how could they reach you?
So my Instagram is realestate.rich. Everything else you can find me just my first and last name, which is Richard Deberry Jr. So
That's what's
I'm
up.
easy to find.
Good. And I wish you, all the best and the most of luck and all that stuff, especially in this
Thank you.
tumultuous, market that we're in right now.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to hearing from you later on and see how far you've gotten with everything. And
Yep.
now, just real quick, how many flips have you done so far here in Denver?
So here in Denver, we've done about 35 flips.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work out here in the Denver market. We've done a lot in the Oklahoma market where we're from, and just breaking into the Dallas market as well right now. So we've been really busy.
That's good. And so, look, there's resources out there for you guys if you want to get into the real estate, flipping homes and stuff like that. And, hit up my man here, Richard Deberry. And like he said, you could find him at where?
Realestate.rich on the gram and Richard Deberry on everything else.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me. And
You're welcome.
I want to say I'm glad that you're doing this podcast. More so because what it stands for, I do a lot of podcasts, and those podcasts don't stand for anything or mean anything. So, to see somebody putting forth an effort to highlight the community is always a pleasure. So, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And come anytime you want to come back and
No,
let
we're
me
gonna have
know.
to do a second one.
That sounds
We're
good.
gonna have to do another one a year from now and see where we're at.
Okay, I can't wait. All right, Denver, another one of Denver's best right here